Joining us now from South Carolina, Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you.
Senator, we'll get to the Supreme Court in just a moment, but first I want to talk about Ukraine. You have these intelligence leaks about targeting Russian generals, sinking a Russian warship.
Right.
Does that make war likely between the U.S. and Russia? In other words, does that leak and the intelligence targeting equal heavy weapons, planes in the eyes of Putin? How do you see it?
Well, no, Putin winning is a disaster for the United States. That means he's going to move forward further in Europe. He's trying to rewrite the map of Europe. If Putin wins, then Taiwan is probably going to be invaded by China. But if Putin loses, then I think that's a great day for Europe, a great day for the United States. We need to triple down on our willingness to help the Ukraine. We need to pass a $33 billion supplemental package, $20 billion for weapons. We need to work with the International Criminal Court to gather evidence to prosecute Putin personally. We need a resolution that I have with Senator Blumenthal, a Democrat, to designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. We need to put more weapons in theater that can strike the Russian military offensively. So I want to triple down on beating Putin. Burns said today, the CIA director, that Putin would double down because he can't lose in Ukraine. Well, I want to triple down because we can't let him win in Ukraine.
Well, Senator, Tom Friedman with the New York Times writes this today, quote, "We need to stick as tightly as possible to our original limited and clearly defined aim of helping Ukraine expel Russian forces as much as possible or negotiate for their withdrawal whenever Ukraine's leaders feel the time is right. Boasting about killing his generals and sinking his ships or falling in love with Ukraine in ways that will get us enmeshed there forever is the height of folly." Your thoughts?
I couldn't disagree more. People like that said that we could deter Russia through sanctions. Our effort to deter Russia through rhetoric and talking tough and acting weak didn't work. We're in a fight for the future of Europe. NATO needs to get bigger, not smaller. If Finland and Sweden join NATO and Europe breaks away from dependence on Russian oil and gas and Putin's declared a war criminal, it'd be the best outcome for the world writ large. China would be less likely to go into Taiwan. So I disagree. I think we should do everything within our power. I'm not asking for troops on the ground, but to make sure that Ukraine can expel Russia and that Putin's a war criminal in the eyes of the world and that he's prosecuted. Putin must go. I like Tom Friedman, but if you don't understand this, that if Putin's still standing after all this, then the world's going to be a very dark place. China's going to get the wrong signal, and we'll have a mess on our hands in Europe for decades to come. So let's take out Putin by helping Ukraine.
All right, so you're saying that that's how this ends, that Putin is removed? Is there any way?
There's no off-ramp.
There is no off-ramp.
No off-ramp. So let me tell you why there's no off-ramp. The Ukrainians are not going to give the East to Putin to stop the war. They're going to fight for every inch of their territory. If we push the Ukrainians to give up half the country, then Putin wins. If we back off prosecuting Putin as a war criminal, all the laws on the books become a joke. If we don't get this right, China will certainly invade Taiwan. There is no off-ramp in this war. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And I hope and pray and do everything in my power to make sure Ukraine wins. And Putin is in charge of a state sponsor of terrorism. That designation needs to be given to Russia. He's earned that designation. We need to pour it on when it comes to helping Ukraine.
Last thing, at what point do you think Putin is going to move on Moldova or Poland or some other way that draws the West in? Do you think that that's inevitable as he gets more desperate?
Well, Moldova is not part of NATO, but I do believe he could use chemical weapons because the people of Mariupol are fighting like tigers. If he uses chemical weapons to subdue the East, that should lead to a no-fly zone by NATO to restore the international order. If he explodes a nuclear weapon inside of Ukraine to break our will, then to me that would be an attack on NATO because the radiation will go all over Europe. I could see him getting more desperate because there's no off-ramp for him. Here's what I think will happen. If we stick with Ukraine, they're not going to give up. Over time, the Russian people will turn on Putin. This war is a disaster. You'll see a parade Monday, but the parade doesn't reflect the Russian military. You see the Russian military getting their ass handed to them on the battlefield in Ukraine. We can win this war on behalf of Ukraine if we help them.
All right, let's turn to the Supreme Court. Many experts have called this leak of a draft opinion a dangerous precedent. How do you see it, and what's the potential political fallout for Republicans, frankly?
Well, for the court, it's a betrayal of trust. Chief Justice Roberts said it better than I could ever say. It's a betrayal of trust. Can you imagine going to work the next day and looking around at your colleagues who did this to the court? Well, what will happen if the opinion sticks? And here's what's important. At least in February, there were 5 votes that led to this draft opinion to repeal Roe v. Wade. I think Roe v. Wade created a constitutional right that doesn't exist in the written Constitution. It's created division from the first day it was decided until now. If it does get repealed, which I hope it will, the issue goes back to the states, but Congress will still stay involved. My Democratic friends are trying to pass a law Wednesday that will allow abortion right up to the day before the baby is delivered. Different states will take different approaches, so the abortion debate will not go away in the country. It will be decided by the people, not a handful of judges.
But will abortion now galvanize the left as it has for the right politically? Do you fear that heading into the midterms?
Single issue voters seldom decide the outcome of an election. Enthusiasm's important, but here's what I would say. Elected officials, elected by the people, now have a say about abortion, first time since 1973. That process will move forward. I don't believe it's going to change the outcome of the 2022 elections at all. When you go to the grocery store and when you go to a gas station, that's going to remind you the incompetency of the Biden administration. When you look at the southern border, this is not going to take people's eyes off of rocket inflation, broken border, insecure America.
Just on the substance of the ruling, if it turns out to be what this draft opinion suggests, some senators are now openly questioning whether they were misled in the confirmation hearings. Here is Justice Kavanaugh, and you did some of that questioning in his confirmation hearing. Take a listen.
It's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court entitled to respect under principles of stare decisis. And one of the important things to keep in mind about Roe v. Wade is that it has been reaffirmed many times.
And this is from Senator Susan Collins this week. If this leaked draft opinion is the final decision and this reporting is accurate, it would be completely inconsistent with what Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh said in their hearings and in our meetings in my office. What do you say to that?
Well, you cut off my questioning because I asked Judge Kavanaugh, would you consider challenges to Roe v. Wade? Would you listen to both sides? You would apply the doctrine of stare decisis, but would you shut the party trying to overturn the decision out? This has not been well accepted by the public. The public has been divided since 1973. Ask your next guest, who's a good friend. Does he want the court to reconsider Citizens versus United regarding campaign finance laws? Would he welcome a revisiting of the Heller decision where the court said the Second Amendment was a personal right? So my liberal friends don't mind the court overturning decisions they don't like. They very much are against overturning decisions that they agree with. So you can't bargain your way into getting onto the court. So any senator who tries to bargain with a nominee, will you uphold the case I like or overturn the ones I don't, is really doing a disservice to the court.
What about, again, I'm going back to the politics, but Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell saying that it is possible that a federal ban on abortions could happen?
Well, Wednesday, we're going to take a vote by Senator Schumer, is insisting we vote, to legalize abortion to the day before birth. That would become the law of the land, but they don't have the votes for it. I have a bill that would outlaw abortion at 20 weeks. We're one of 7 nations in the world that allow abortion on demand at 20 weeks, the 5th month in pregnancy. So Congress will continue to debate this issue. The states will finally have control over this. And here's the one common theme. If you don't like the outcome of the abortion debate, now you can kick people out of office who actually vote. Before, you were shut out. You had no avenue. 5 judges, 6 judges, 7 judges determine when life begins and how it ends, and I think that was wrong from the start. Now, finally, elected officials have a say about life and the conditions of an abortion. I think that's the way it should be.
Senator Graham, thank you. Always good to talk with you.
Thank you.